this may be a controversial topic, but it may be time for Florida to drop the orange as its mascot. Oranges are and citrus is extremely good for you. You know, there's so many vitamins in that. I mean, you're getting the fiber, the sugars, that's natural. But when it's been coated in chemicals, that fruit, its entire development, you really have to question what else is in here now.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your gloves and get your compost ready. Stepping into the ring is the perennial powerhouse, the sultan of soil, the beast of the beds, where permaculture reigns, food grows wild, community roots run deep, and yes, the garden punts hit hard. Freedom starts in the soil. This is the Guerrilla Gardening Show.
Welcome back to the Guerrilla Gardening Show. I am Mike with Mike's in the Garden, here with Sam from Central Florida Abundance. What's happening, Sam?
What's going on, Mike? What's going on, y'all? It's good out here. It's still sunny, surprisingly. I think we're making our way into summer. Finally, the winter that seemed like it would never end is finally starting to end, at least for us down here in Florida. I know some of them northern states are still getting some chilly days. But down here, it's warming up. We have gotten a little bit of rain. People are getting back out in the garden, and it's been awesome to see what people are trying to incorporate for this new year.
Yeah, the winter's gone, and then the next day it's full blown summer. So
Yeah, 90
we have
degrees.
we had that hours of spring, and now we're back up in it. But today, Sam, I'm going to showcase some of my Florida citrus trees. So your
Hmm.
your typical native sour orange, sour lemon, whatever they
Oh,
happen to
you got
be.
some wild citrus.
I done do, yeah. So I guess we'll bring it up here. And
I'm kind of fascinated by the wild citrus. I think it has a lot of uh, you know, potential that has been untapped. And not necessarily for the fruit that it makes. I mean, I will say that I've had some wild seed grown lemons and grapefruit that were very good.
okay.
That seems to be one that does, fairly well, get something decent from seed. But yeah, if you're getting those sour oranges, it's hard to figure out what to do with them. I think if you add enough sugar, you could probably make, some jam or something. But for grafting, I think they have a lot of potential. So this is I mean, and this is why I think they have so much potential is they're some of like the healthiest citrus trees you'll ever see down here anyways.
Guess I hand around to see where we're at, but this is probably 3 going on 4 years old.
And is this a seed that you planted?
This one I purchased from someone told me it was I don't know, a Tangelo or an orange, and I don't think either of those, but um, it's done well in this large pot for me, and
Is this one of the ones that was in your front yard?
I picked this sucker up and brought it out in the back because I think that Jamaican cherry tree is 100% dead. So I figured let's let's put this citrus in the back here and at least
Oh, you're gonna plant it?
get one in the ground. Yeah. So you can see all
Okay.
these wicked thorns on here, but a ton of new growth. And you were telling me, Sam, that I don't know if that was part of a graft or
Well, it
um,
shouldn't be grafted. I
okay.
mean, if it's a seedling, then it's just straight rootstock to trunk. Now,
Well, I didn't know
I
if
mean, you
someone tried to turn it into an orange or Tangelo or whatever, but it
and that's
definitely
possible.
has all the appearance of a Florida citrus. So,
So if that was the case, what I would assume, what we're looking at right here would be like the old graft, and these shoots, maybe one of these shoots out to the left here is the original tree, uh, and then this main shoot that has taken over. is the rootstock, which a lot of our grafted citrus, yeah, it's gonna have a sour orange or sour lemon rootstock, um, which is like the seedling citrus. That's pretty much what you're gonna get if you start from seed. Yeah, it looks
But
like it's been through some stuff.
yeah, and you were telling me that uh I think I did that pan around the yard to show you that like nothing else is existing right now, but these citrus trees are kicking ass. And you were saying that when the cold came in, it basically wiped out all the pests that typically destroy the citrus trees. And so they've been able to
Yeah,
get this head start because they haven't had to worry about, these pests taking over.
yeah, the leaf miners are a huge problem with like garden citrus. We don't, and they're not usually something that kills the plant. They just leave it looking ugly, and it does stress it out because it causes it to defoliate. We don't really have as much problems with canker or greening when we're just planting, a few citrus in our garden. Uh, but the leaf miners are just always a nightmare on most of the citrus varieties. But since the freeze, I've seen lots of citrus trees with no signs of, leaf miner activity, even with all this new growth. But that's typically where the leaf miners are going to target that new growth. And they're really difficult to get rid of because they live inside the leaf as little larvae, so you can't wash them off. And then once they uh, grow up, they just exit the leaf and fly away, and they're so small you never see them.
Hmm.
If you're lucky, you can rinse off the eggs because the adults will come lay eggs on the leaves for the next generation. And so that's kind of the only stage you can kill them at. Um, so that's one of the things when I'm doing citrus. I will use I use spinosad, which is an organic insecticide, and I mean organic, inorganic insecticide. Some are worse. None of them are great. But in uh, precision applications, just for, specific instances, not as something you do all the time, they can be useful and not too damaging to the rest of the environment. So leaf miners are one of the things that I do break out the chemicals for, and so it has been very nice this spring to see all this citrus blooming without it, because like you said, if it can get a head start, that's
Hmm.
really sometimes that's all it needs. Just get that new growth mature before it gets attacked.
Yeah,
Now,
and
is this one like a rootstock as well, or is that
that
um
was the second of two that I purchased as
Mm.
orange citrus trees. These I've all grown from seed over here, and I would say they're
Okay.
mostly pomelo seeds. They could be lemon seeds as well. And you can see this one's got a whole bunch that's ready to get some growth on there. But um, this big one here, I tried moving these the other day, and it's it's got its roots in the ground, so it's got its tap root in there. I did yank it out, so um,
Oh, they've been there for a minute, huh?
been there for a minute. Yeah, this was one of the few places I think got enough shade because, and I'm going to show you here in a minute. The first citrus tree I really had is this kind of very small Meyer lemon, which I
Mm, as most
which
people start with, yeah.
yeah, which had like two lemons on it 2 or 3 years ago when I got it from some lady who was moving, and it has never produced since then. I've pruned it this year, gave it a healthy uh, consumption of vermicast extract, and so it has all brand new growth, which
Hmm.
really the last couple of years it was just the leaves that had been on there. So I'm excited to see what potentially comes of this year. but
Yeah, and I feel like the
bright
Meyer
green.
lemons, their genes are just so weak. You got to treat it like a tomato plant, just
Mhm.
like do everything you possibly can for it. I think most people grow them in pots. And so that's, when you have a potted plant, you're doing everything for it. And
Sure.
so, you know, if you're good at taking care of potted plants and keep up with it, then the tree does well. But in the ground, I mean, I've seen some old ones, but I rarely ever see newly planted ones, in the last 5 or 6 years really take off. And, you know, I've never seen anybody really baby it. That would be interesting to see, if you really nursed it in those first couple of years, worm castings, EM solutions, like once a month kind of thing,
Hmm.
just, keeping that revitalized. Um, maybe where is this one planted? It's in the ground. Is it at, like in a shady spot or is it in full sun?
It's probably sun for the first part of the morning, and then once afternoon hits, it's in the shade. This is the walkway into the house. Um, so it is out front, but I
Oh,
guess I'm
okay.
doing
So
the
it's shaded
complete
by the
opposite.
house.
Yeah, I have my Meyer lemon in the ground and my Florida citrus trees in giant pots. So I'm doing the exact opposite. Uh, but
Of what's
I,
easy. Yeah, you
yeah,
always like to take the hard way.
yeah, yeah, I'm out there doing the work for the people. So, um, but no, I will. I've got to work on my worm farm again this weekend. So I may even put some worms in the ground here and put a bunch of the vermicast in there and keep feeding it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would say just do everything you can for it. Don't treat it like a set it and forget it fruit tree. This is a highly cultivated, you know, designer plant, basically. Um, but I'm interested to know what you're going to plant the one sour orange,
hmm.
right in that spot.
Yep.
And so what are your plans for that? Like, what are your thoughts on what you're going to do with it?
If I ever get successful at grafting, I would like to try grafting other types of citrus onto it. But
It's
really,
definitely a good one to practice on.
yeah, really, it was just doing so well. I had those two in the front that I really don't want to plant because of the septic. So I just figured,
Hmm.
hey, this Jamaican cherry tree looks worse than it did before we pruned it. So um, thinking in the exact same spot that Jamaican cherry was, sticking it right there, and just kind of seeing what happens with it. So
I mean, it'll probably take off. They can get large, but you keep pruning it. They grow crazy. They have a crazy growth habit, but that's what they grow so quickly and have so many branches. That's what
mm,
makes them great grafting practice. Because
right.
realistically, every time you prune it, that's an opportunity to graft something on.
Hmm.
And, you do 4 or 5 grafts once or twice a month, or once or every 2 months. Uh, you're gonna have some successes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, the best thing to do, is to get like young wood. If you know people who are getting like young nursery trees, maybe if I buy some citrus, I'll cut some scions for you because I always prune the trees when I get them, and
Sure.
that's just fresh scion wood. Um, but yeah,
Now,
you can
Sam,
gather up a
these
lot of that for free.
these Florida citrus trees, I know citrus in general, they require a lot of different types of maintenance as well as nutrients than a lot of our regular fruit trees that are kind of growing here. So can you talk a little bit about I know you said baby this Meyer lemon, but like a Florida citrus, I haven't done much to really baby them, but nutrient wise, I guess, what should people be looking for if they're trying to take care of one?
Well, I mean, realistically, the wild citrus you don't really need to do anything for. They love our poor sandy soils. They're kind of a weedy species. Um, and you know, that's fine, but most people aren't going to find themselves planting the wild citrus, like the sour oranges is really what we're talking about, because there are other, you know, the grapefruit trees when they grow, wild from seed, they have a much more long-term habit. It looks more like a tree, and less like really the sour oranges grow like brambles
Mm.
almost. Their branches, go out long and curve. Um, but for citrus in general, and this is really the big question that a lot of people have is, what do I do for my, nursery bought citrus, my Persian limes, my Meyer lemons, the Valencia oranges, all these things people think and are almost ubiquitous with Florida. The citrus industry is actually a very difficult species of plants to grow here. And that's partly in due to the citrus industry, but it's been made more difficult by, I think, just common misinformation. And the citrus industry does prefer to grow their plants in full sun, and when you go out there, look at a citrus grove, the soils are very sandy and bare, and people assume that that's how they should be growing their citrus. And that's about as far removed from what the citrus wants as you can get. Citrus is an understory tree. It prefers to grow underneath a tall canopy, and it likes rich forest soils. The reason our groves are the way they are is because, I mean, one, it's easier to manage, without other plants obstructing machinery. But then also, bare soil is to them better than managing, volunteer pioneer weed species growth. And so the soil's bare because they're spraying it and tilling it, which is extremely damaging, but it leads to more fruit production because those trees are so stressed that they're going to make more offspring. But what it also leads to is short-term lifespans of the trees. And so you'll see citrus groves are replanting their trees I mean, usually 10 years is like the max on a farmed citrus tree. And some of the farms will recycle them every 5 years, which is absurd with a plant that can live hundreds of years. I mean, it may not have the same production for, you know,
Is that
over
the
an
purpose or
80-year
the reason
term or
why? Because they don't get the production, so they try to
no, it's
settle
because
for
the trees
need.
die because
Okay.
of how we treat them. The trees just, teeter out. And I mean, also a big issue with citrus is that there's no genetic diversity. If we were growing a field of Valencia oranges, and they'll usually have two or three types of citrus, like a Valencia orange, maybe like the juicing pineapple oranges. Uh, sometimes they'll do blood oranges, but that means that there's only three individuals genetically in that field because each Valencia orange is the same genetic individual as every other Valencia orange. They're just clones of each other. So if a disease infects one Valencia orange, it's extremely easy for it then just to jump to the next one and infect that because there's no diversity in the genes, there's no, difference in the resistance. And so whole fields will be wiped out. And on top of that, because of how we treat the soil, we've like created this like, you know, uh, basically the perfect cocktail for breeding pathogenic microbes. It's a very barren, uh, desolate environment. And so only the toughest, most aggressive species are going to survive in that. And, you know, those just happen to be species that can survive off the thing we've planted thousands of in one little tiny space.
Yeah.
Uh, so when you're planting citrus in your yard, the best thing you can do is to go as far in the opposite direction from the citrus groves as possible. A lot of or several universities in Florida have done studies on the greening and the canker diseases that citrus can get from different microbes and wild citrus, whether that be the sour oranges. It's mostly it's wild citrus because those are the ones growing without anybody paying them any mind. They're growing on their own where they wanted to, and that's predominantly in the understory of like these live oak hammocks that we have out here. We have lots of, large, tall oak trees that create a canopy that allows filtered light to get through. And the citrus just loves it in those environments. The soils are a lot with like what they're used to. They're rich in organic matter, like on, a decomposing layer on top of the soil from all those trees, that, forest material. Um, and then, you don't find as much undergrowth, like small herbaceous plants underneath those canopies. So that helps the citrus too by controlling the competition. Um, and so when they look at these wild growing citrus trees, they sometimes are infected with potentially greening or canker, and yet they're still very healthy looking and still producing viable fruit. Whereas greening is a disease that stops the ripening process of fruit. It'll still develop on the trees, but then it, just doesn't ripen. But that only happens in the citrus fields predominantly because those trees are already so stressed. And so it's not just the disease that's hindering them, it's the disease on top of all the other stressors. So in your yard, if you can, if you have it's hard to create a forested environment overnight, but you can start working on that, and then plant citrus into it, or maybe you already have something like that on your property. That's the area to do it, which really is great because a lot of people have areas like that and they struggle with what to plant there in the shade. A lot of our fruit trees don't like do prefer full sun. And so, if you have big shady spots, it can be hard to do things like mangoes and avocados. Um, you know, and so, you know, switching back to the citrus that actually prefers that for those locations. And then if you can plant it in the right place, you don't have to baby it as much. Um, but you do have to have, you know, kind of a mature forest environment. Citrus is not a pioneer species, not our citrus cultivars, at least. And even the sour oranges, they do prefer to grow in the understory. They're just so aggressive that, they can still grow in other places. Um,
Yeah, this one's not gonna, if I plant it in that spot, it'll pretty much be in full sun most of the day. So, which
yeah,
where it is now, it gets, or where it was before on top of the septic. I mean, it pretty much got full sun until 4 or 5 in the afternoon when the sun starts going over the other side of the house. So,
you do have that big oak tree in your front yard, though. And I mean, it's not a continuous canopy because there's only one oak tree, but
yeah, it'll
even
get
then, a
dappled
little bit.
sun for a couple hours here and there, but
Mm.
I'm gonna let it sit out there for a week or two just to get used to its new spot, see how it does and reacts. And then I guess if I have to move it again, I will. But that's typically what I do. If I'm going to plant something, I'll move that tree into its position, leave it there for a week or two, just get it acclimated to, the new sundial, I guess. Um, Sam, I wanted to share this here. It's funny you were just talking about that. This is Grow In Homes. Shout
Oh,
outs to
okay.
shout outs to Grow In Homes. Did you see this video they did on? You'll have to tell me if you can hear this here.
I haven't seen this video, but I have seen a lot of their stuff. They're definitely good people. They do incredible things. I don't hear anything.
You don't hear it.
Florida damaged orange groves. The citrus psyllid, which is so funny because that comes from, where they're native, and where citrus is native, they don't have this issue.
Yeah.
So what are they? Since 2005, Florida orange juice production has dropped by over 80%. Ooh. Scientists are now using AI and gene editing to try to save citrus. I've seen the gene editing. It has not been, you know, they have some success, but
Yeah, I guess
costs
they're
a
trying
lot
to
of money.
hybridize some of these to, um, I guess, continue with. It's not really going to be the original at that point, but um, GMO citrus fruit, you're going to be able to grow Florida citrus naturally ever again. I mean, isn't most of the oranges grown in California anyway? Like, I don't think most oranges,
Yeah,
at least,
we grow a lot of lemons and grapefruit and limes down here. We grow some oranges just to keep up with our license plate,
yeah.
pictures. We got to keep up the imagery. I mean, it may be time. This may be a controversial topic, but it may be time for Florida to drop the orange as its mascot.
Yeah, you know,
Drop your
there,
thoughts in the comments. What should be
there's
our new state
stories
mascot?
of the Fountain of Youth being here in Florida, and there was
Yeah.
I'd have to find it, but there was a guy in his 90s. Every day he picked oranges. That was his job. He ate
Hmm.
oranges every day. He referred to them as the golden apple, and he claims that that's what kept him going was his. Now, I think that was a story that came out like in the 70s or 80s, and he was 90 something years old. So we're probably talking different citrus trees. But
Yeah, and probably different care too. Like the amount of poison that comes in on our citrus these days. I I was just this morning driving to a nature preserve to go on a hike, and all around the preserve was citrus groves, which was kind of bothering just at first. And I'm like, oh God. But then I'm driving down this road, and there's a tractor coming down the rows, and I could see before I saw the tractor that it's kind of misty everywhere. And I kind of thought it was kind of early, but the sun was up, and I'm like, maybe it's foggy. Nah, this tractor came around the corner and it's spraying everywhere. And as I drive down the road, it makes the turn and sprays my entire truck with whatever was
uh,
coming out of this
dude,
tank. And I'm like, oh God, I just got cancer. But
well, your truck
that
got
that's
cancer. I mean, I don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a Ford. Don't worry. Cheeseburgers and donuts, just it'll keep it safe. But that's the big issue. Oranges and citrus is extremely good for you. There's so many vitamins in that. I mean, you're getting the fiber, the sugars, that's natural. But when it's been coated in chemicals, that fruit, its entire development, you really have to question what else is in here now.
sure.
Like soft or like at least thick skins fruit like citrus, it might have a harder time permeating, but I mean, I refuse to eat apples from the store because they just don't seem like
Got a
real
layer of wax on
things.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, they'll
scrape it
sit on
off
the
with your
shelf for
finger.
like 3 months and look exactly the same. I'm like,
Well,
that's
when
like
you watch
McDonald's.
videos of cleaning apples and they need a toothbrush to clean them,
That's ridiculous. You should probably be cleaning your citrus with a toothbrush. Of course, I guess
Well, you
I
shouldn't eat the
do.
peel anyway.
Well, hey now, not all the time, but I mean, that's the easiest way to peel it. You just bite into it, and.
Yeah,
But then you get a mouthful of whatnot.
yeah,
Kumquats. You must have never had a kumquat because
I
the
have
whole
not.
thing, I'll
Hmm,
bring you some next time.
okay,
Uh, you got to eat the peel on those or else they don't taste as good.
okay. Well, we've been looking into a lot of different fruits, and um, this one guy has done a ton of research. He's like, you shouldn't really eat the peel of any fruit because that's like its barrier and protective layer, and that's gonna any whatever they're spraying in the sky and spraying on citrus and everything else.
Yeah,
That's like, you know,
he's not wrong
yeah, yeah.
these days. And isn't it a shame? Like that's the society we've built for ourselves. This is our
Anytime we
world,
get
y'all.
any fruit, Sam, don't be offended. If we get a basket from Igo Farms, we're maybe not Igo Farms, but anywhere really, we come home and put it in a big giant bowl of baking soda and water for 20 to 30 minutes to hope that it will remove what
Chemicals.
might be on there. Yeah.
Yeah. With even if you're bringing in fruit from your own garden, like if you're going to eat like leaves, greenery, fruit that you're going to eat the peel, wash it because, and you don't have to go crazy, but just rinse it because animals and insects are also crawling on that and peeing and pooping on it, and that can transfer a lot of diseases. People have gotten salmonella from lizards, having peed on their greens and then eating them without washing. So always wash your produce, but we should not have to be scrubbing our produce with toothbrushes to make it safe for us to consume.
It's
And that's
ridiculous.
why we grow food ourselves.
That's right. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sam, tell everyone where they can find you and your services.
Yeah, and if you want to get out in the garden and make yourself stronger without killing yourself, you can reach out to me at Central Florida Abundance on Instagram, Facebook, and right here on YouTube. And if you want to get some produce from our local farm, you can check out igofarm.com. We will be updating the website soon. Actually, we should, by the time this episode airs, it should already be updated. But sorry for y'all looking for it right now. We're running a little behind.
It's all right. They gotta get in early. You gotta follow Sam in real time on those channels that he just said, as well as Mike's in the garden. And you can check me out. I haven't been super active lately. I'm trying to take care of some business, but we've got these episodes coming out. Hopefully they're educational and people are learning. And we've had a lot of people commenting saying that they've been learning. So that's great. And you can get yourself a shirt. There's lots of things we need to make legal again. Marijuana should be one of those. So there's also lots of gardening shirts, silly punny shirts as well. So you can head over there, support the channel. And that's it for Florida Citrus, Sam. We'll catch you on the
See
next one.
y'all. See y'all next time.